Welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. I am your host, Chad Hufford, and this is the podcast where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the working world. Each week, we dive into the incredible stories of honest, hardworking folks who have found financial success through grit, determination, and good old-fashioned elbow grease. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn how to turn your hard work into your own success story, you're in the right place. This is the Blue Collar Millionaire Show.
We are back with another episode of the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. And today I have special guest Jeremy with us. And Jeremy has a very unique story that he had shared with me. He had called in to the office and then he had shared this I would just say extraordinary story of success and hard work. And we asked him to be on, and luckily we got him on. So Jeremy, I'd like to, for the listeners, ask you about what you do for work. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
Sure. So right now I'm a COO of a DoD contracting company who works for Air Force Research Labs, and we kind of specialize in the intelligence community. So for obvious reasons, we can't get too much into the job stuff, but I could definitely talk about personal life and how I got here.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you did get there. Where did you start out? How did you grow up and to get into a job like this?
Yeah, so I guess before I begin, I'm also kind of a teacher per se. So if I dive into kind of like an education rant on you should do this and you should do that, it's kind of in my blood to do that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because how I got started. I grew up as a poor farm boy in the middle of Nebraska, and I'm talking poor, like not a rich farmer like you see on TV on Yellowstone or anything. It's hard work, it's long days, and as a kid, you don't get the rewards, right? It's just chores and chores and chores, and then you got school, and then chores and chores, and it's not for everybody, but they kind of make it that way because you don't have any choice, right?
Sure.
I kind of got a lot of hard work just built into me from there, from my upbringing, but
Big family or?
no, one brother or one sister, and mom and dad, and that was it. So there was just the two kids on the farm, and that's really it. And 19, I kind of realized I already graduated high school, did a summer, didn't go to college, and I kind of had this reflection, like, is this what I'm going to do until I'm 80 or whatever, and then keel over, and then there's nothing, right? Or how do I get out of this? And actually, I had a conversation with my mom, and she got frustrated with me. So it was really it was like a 2-minute conversation. So I was kind of explaining to her in the kitchen. I was like, I don't know, Mom. I don't know if I could keep doing this. Friends are going off to college. They're doing things. I don't know if I could just keep doing this. And she just kind of looked at me and she snapped and was like, why don't you just go join the Air Force or something? And then she left. So she just kind of left that with me to think on. And I was like, well, why the hell not? So I did.
19.
It took a little bit, right? Yeah. So 19 years old. I didn't go at 18.
Okay.
Some kids went at 17. But I went at 19, still young. And long story short, I did 20 years. I got a security clearance through the Air Force. They did all that work. They taught me. They gave me, they send you to tech school. You learn your trade. And then I did 20 years. Succeeded in that. I did fairly well. I wasn't, some massive general or anything. I just stayed enlisted. I retired as an average E7.
What was that job?
It was a intelligence analyst position.
Okay.
So I did a lot of work in the intel field and held the security clearance, which is a very niche industry. So you kind of, once you get into a small industry like that, you kind of know everybody within that industry.
Sure.
There's only, there's a few thousand people, but you run into those same few thousand people throughout your career.
Okay.
When I was about 17, 18 years in, I had a lot of friends who were already retiring. And I would be like, how's retirement life? Blah, blah, blah. And they all made the same comment to me. And they said, stay technical. Just don't do the paperwork drill. Don't bide your time till you're 20 and get out. They said, stay technical and somebody is going to hire you and you're going to make good money.
Sure. Yeah.
So I kind of took that to heart because it was more than one. And I also saw it, like they would retire and then they came back in doing the same job as a civilian, but they weren't getting the pay that they should have been getting. There were literally 25-year-olds getting out of the military making more money than they were in the same industry. And the reason is because these 25-year-olds stayed technical.
Mm-hmm.
And that teaching moment I kind of want to go off here is if I had a recommendation for somebody, it's stay being an extrovert. That lacks today. Stay being an extrovert, but be technical. I mean, dive into your craft. Know your craft. 10,000 hours of on-the-job training is equivalent of 5 years. Do 20,000. Be technical and stay that way. But dabble into leadership. So do the paperwork drill so you can show all three aspects of what you can do. You're a people person, you're leadership material, and you're technical. So you could lead technicians who are looking up to you.
Makes
So
sense.
it is. And that I kind of saw that when I was about 36, 37 years old and realized I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So for those last 2 or 3 years, I worked nonstop to get back into the technical mindset because in the military, the more rank you get, and a lot of people will disagree with me, but I'm telling you, in my career field, you're able just to kind of lean back and rely on the younger people to do it, and you just do the paperwork drill.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so you're just kind of the dad, right? Like you did
So
your
you get,
time.
yeah, you build up and then coast.
Pretty much. It is
Yeah.
coasting. And like a lot of military will push back on that. Oh, I busted my ass for 20 years. Yeah, maybe in your career field you did. Mad respect to you. But in mine, that's just not the way it worked. And it's a downfall. So I'm not bragging about it by any means. It's a negative. So I recognize that. And those last 2 or 3 years, it was 12-hour days and I grinded because I lost a lot of information in those 5 years that I was quote coasting. And during those 12-hour days, 14-hour days, 5 days a week, I'd even come in on a Saturday or Sunday and sit with the younger guys and, hey, teach me this, teach me this. I mean, some of these guys, they could open up Linux stuff and just start coding away. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing, but
And
teach me,
this,
teach me.
when you say teach me, this is all in the realm of different types of intelligence work that you're doing.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
wanted to know, like, how are these kids doing it these days? Like in our days, it was dinosaur stuff. So I would come in on the weekends. I'd spend all this time after hours just kind of trying to dive into this because I really wanted somebody to recognize that I had a technical ability so I could basically just make more money. That's what it was about.
Sure.
So I did it and I didn't know it, but there were people, leadership people in the contracting world, the DoD contracting world, that worked the weekends and they worked after hours and they noticed me in there. They kept noticing me pop in there. And like I said, it's kind of a small world.
Sure.
And after months and months and months of me doing this, that was probably over a year of me doing this. One of the guys approached me and he said, when do you retire? And I gave him the date, whatever it was, 2016. And he said, I have a position for you and I would like you to fill that. You show a lot of technical aptitude, and I kind of gave myself a fist bump. He says, you show a lot of technical aptitude and it looks like you love what you do. And I have a position for you. So in the next couple months, come see me and we'll do an application and get you spun up and everything. I was ready to get out. So my retirement date was set. I was ready to go. So I did. And I started working for this contracting company after I retired. So now I have military pension, have some VA
Mm-hmm.
benefits.
Jeremy, sorry to pause you just a little bit. I've seen people stop there many times,
Yeah, yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, it's one of those like, well, why work harder if I already have this? Like
Right.
it's already income. I'm good. Well, I wasn't good. Like I came from nothing. I want
Mm-hmm.
everything. And it's not a greed
Yeah.
thing. It's more of a I'm going to prove to myself that I could come from nothing and I could be worth seven figures. And at that time when I retired, again, open numbers, I don't care. When I retired, I looked at my TSP, which is the equivalent of 401k, and I looked at a savings account, and I also had a small brokerage account. And everything combined, I was 39 years old, and it was 150,000 in total. And at that time, for me, I've never had more money in my life. Like, military, you don't get paid a whole lot, but I
Sure.
managed to do fairly well. And I was like, no, I want more. I actually want to be a millionaire. And that kind of motivated me. So I really buckled down and worked for this guy. I did not do what traditional people do, which is work 9 to 5, go home, and you're done. I really took this job to heart. And when I had my interview, he actually asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I like growth. I want to grow this business. He had about 65 employees at the time.
Okay.
And I said, okay. He noticed I was an extrovert. So he saw business development right there because being an extrovert is hard to find nowadays. And then he noticed the technical background. So now not only can I go out and talk to people, but I know what I'm talking about when I talk to those people.
It's a positive.
Yeah, yeah. So, and he also noticed, leadership quality. So he wanted me to supervise the younger people in his company as well. So, kind of wrapped it all together, and he started me with a six-figure salary, which I was like, this is amazing. I am grateful for this. Except that's the first realization I had of taxes. Because you don't really
Yeah.
experience that in the military. Like they take out, I mean, it's pennies, right, to the dollar, but in the real world, man, yeah, that was an eye opener. But really, for the first 2 years, I kind of stuck to my guns, and I did the same thing I did those last couple years I did in the military. I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to prove to him that I could do better. And it was the CEO of the company. Now, obviously, small business, but that doesn't matter. He started this thing from scratch. If he could do this, I could do this. So that mentality still stuck with me where I would come in and I would do my 8 hours, but then I would do two more. And I
Uh-huh.
did that for several months. And then after that, I did an hour before I was supposed to go to work. And then I worked. And then I stayed after for two more. And I just kept doing this and kept doing this and kept doing this. I never charged that time. I did 8 hours, but I would work 10 to 12 hours. And I
Wow.
would just do this every single day.
You
I
were
didn't come in
proving
on the
to the
weekends.
Yeah, you were really proving to that company that
I'm worth
you
it.
were, yeah, you're worth it, and that you were telling the truth, and that you want to see this company do well, and you were
I'm going to do
willing,
well.
yeah, you were willing to sacrifice your time to get there.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I did it, the way DoD contracting works is it's actually illegal to work for free. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to charge to I think it's like every 6 minutes or something like that. You have to charge to the 6 minutes for what you work for the government. So I would work my 8 hours for the government, right, on a contract. And all that pre time and post time was company work. I don't care if
Sure.
it was cleaning up the office, readjusting this, readjusting this printer, or picking up the small little weight room we had, sitting down with a couple other people and learning their jobs. Like I talked to our HR, I talked to our CFO, I talked to our accounting, inventory reps, like all these people just to kind of know the business. Like, how do I do like everything? Well, my boss actually noticed I was doing that. And 2 years goes by, and he gives me this massive pay raise and a huge bonus. And I couldn't believe it. And he said, hey, last year was kind of a bad year, or I would have done it then on your first year. but we
So
couldn't
what did,
do it.
sorry to interrupt. What did this, how much of a pay increase are we talking here?
So I went from 125, I went from 125 to 150,
Nice.
but the bonus was $1,000 bonus. And the reason he actually sold this to me, and I mean, the guy's never lied to me, but it's kind of funny how it works. And looking at the finances, I could kind of understand it now. I just didn't then. I thought he was just pulling my leg, but he couldn't afford the salary increase that he wanted to give me because he didn't know how that would affect the bottom line year after year after year after year. Because he's got to carry that salary. He can't give me a pay
Sure.
cut. But a bonus, hey, in case I can't give you a pay raise next year, like I can afford something this year.
That makes
So it
sense.
made
Yeah.
sense, right? And
Yeah.
after talking
Yeah.
to the CFO and learning the accounting, I do kind of see it, right? I get it. And then that just motivated me more.
Pet.
Like he gave me a big chunk, and I even told him I was very grateful for it. You know, I didn't kiss the ring or anything, but I did walk in his office and I sat down and I said, I am very grateful for the position you gave me, the opportunity you are giving me, and obviously the pay. I am very grateful. I want to thank you. And he shook my hand and he said, "No, that's you're doing wonderful." I said, "Well, now I feel like I got to do more because I got to earn this." And he kind of laughed and said, "No, you've earned this. If you want another one, go earn another one."
Wow.
And I was like, "Yeah, you got it." So I did the exact same thing, except now I just did more. I just did more.
Sure.
I just did more. So now I'm at year 4. So at year 2, he gave me a good pay raise and bonus. And now I'm at year 4. He gave me a little pay raise in year 3. And I went from 125 to 150 and 150 to 180 and then 180 to 210 in 4 years. So now I'm making 210 in 4 years. I started at 125. And I had little bonuses along the way because, again, I was an extrovert. I did business development. I got some income from the company, for the company. So because I landed these government contracts, obviously they slice off cuts. You get this, you get this, you get this. And I was growing the company. So here I found myself actually growing the company.
Absolutely.
And then I kept going. And at year 6, I got another pay raise at year 5, and then at year 6 he pulled me into his office. Well, back up. I'm sorry. At year 4 he made me a director of mission operations.
Okay.
So a big leadership role. And I've only been in 4 years. Other people have been with these companies 10, 12, 14 years, and they're still living like in the weeds, not really growing. And here I am, just trajectory path up. But I kept going and I kept going, and now I'm working 12, 14 hours a day. And even on the weekends, I do a couple hours here and there because now I'm like company level work that's got to get done. So I'm at home on
Mm-hmm.
my laptop or I go on vacation with my laptop. I'm glued to my phone. So I do want to caveat that with success is also, there are also cons to that. And that's a lot, but it's work, right?
Right.
So at year 8, or I'm sorry, at year 6, he pulls me into his office, sits me down, and he says, "Hey, I did not make a mistake on you 6 years ago. I've read all your evaluations. I see what you do every day. You're in here, you're growing the company. You're now fired from your job." And I kind of looked at him like, what in the hell? Like, you just paid me all these compliments. And he says, "You're no longer the director. I'm pulling you in. You're going to be the COO, the chief operating officer of the company." And I kind of had to look it up. I knew what it was, but I had to look it up, like, kind of, how does this even play in the hierarchy of my life, right? What does this mean? And really, it's the CEO and the COO. Like, it's an arm off of the CEO. It's not even really under the CEO. It is, obviously, because he's my boss. But really, it's just you, what it is you do to grow the company. You now
Right.
have like free reign, just go do. Like, this is pretty much your company, but report everything to the CEO for anything he needs to approve, right?
Sure.
So there is that. And I was like, this is absolutely amazing. And then year 7 goes by, and because he gave me free reign, I mean, I hustled, and I grew this company from about $20 million in revenue, and now we're pushing about 80 in just a year. So I quadrupled it.
Wow.
And at year 7, after he saw the bottom line and he knew all these different contracts coming in, different direct sales that were coming in, he knew my name was attached to every single one of them. And he said, you're now part owner, not on paper. So here's how this works. And mine was a special use case. So there's, 4 different owners of the company, but one CEO. They said, we can't give you ownership because that's already been codified and it's a nightmare to change. But what we can do is we can make you profit share.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll give you 10% profit share starting now. So I got all this year 7, 10% of all the profits of year 7. And I was like, this is absolutely amazing. Changed my life forever. You double your money in the stock market on a $10,000 investment, you get 20,000. That's not life changing. That's like, hey, I'm on a good streak here. That's cool. Literally life changing money in the forms of my salary, my bonuses, the 401ks they give me, all the fringe crap. And then all of a sudden now I get 10% profit share. So again, open kimono, my W-2 that year was $650,000.
Smokes.
And I was like,
7 years from the military when you were making how much in the military?
Yeah, right. 70,000 a year take home from the military, and now making 10 times that.
Well, Jeremy, in between this time, how much college did you go to?
I did get my degree
Okay.
in the military. Did I want to? No. But I want to say, because I know a lot of people think you need a degree to be successful and blah, blah, blah. You don't. My job never even asked me for my degree. They didn't even ask me, do you have higher education? They did not ask me. But I'm not going to lie to you. I did get my degree, but it took me 18 years to get my degree because I just did it a class at a time.
Sure.
And the only reason I did that is because your evaluations in the military, that's a requirement, is are you taking education?
Right.
So every year I had to take a couple classes. And then all of a sudden at 18 years in, I had enough credits to get a degree. So my degree's crap, right? It's like occupational education in management. What the hell does that even mean? So even having a degree and making money, you don't need it. Maybe in some career fields, sure. Maybe it's a requirement with different in different industries. I get it. Sure. Did I luck out? I don't think so. I think it was from hard work. Like I said, I think it's from being an extrovert. I think it's from having some kind of leadership under you. And I think it's technical, which means you could talk in your industry. Like, you have to have all 3.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So many of these that we've done now where we talk to people that have, not the same story as you, but the story of just working hard has really, your story exemplifies that, to where you can go from this wage that was in the military of 70,000 to over 600 in 7 short years. That's pretty incredible. The way that it happened is you were just willing to do what other people don't want to do, and that was go the extra mile.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. And the story even gets better. It gets a lot better. So here I am, year 7. I'm a COO of this company. I'm getting 10% plus this massive salary. And to be honest, because of the bonuses and the profit share, I don't even see my paychecks. Like, it's just, there's a point, and I'm not bragging. I'm still floored by, there's a point where you have enough money where it just keeps coming in. it just keeps coming. I still live a very simple lifestyle because of the farm boy in me. The only thing I splurged on was I bought a 1-year-old truck instead of a brand new truck. Like that's my splurge. I bought a 2022 GMC, right? So I do live a very humble lifestyle, but it is easy to let that I can see now how it is easy to let that run away from you,
Yeah.
and kind of get comfortable and just start spending money, although you have it.
A
Maybe you
lifestyle
need to be,
creep.
yeah. I don't. I just put it in investments. Invest, 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 invest. That's all I'm
Perfect.
doing. But in year 8, which is the end, well, I'm going on year 9, I guess, but here in year 8, our company grew to a point where big contracting companies saw us and they saw that bottom line. And there's a bunch of headhunters in these big contracting companies
You
who
bet.
actually see it's public knowledge. You could go online and see this contract was awarded for $30 million and it went to this company. Like you could see all this stuff. And it, it, I wouldn't say it's a coincidence. I would say that it was very noticeable because the way that these websites work, our name kept kind of popping up in the last couple years saying, "Oh, you got this award, you got this award." Even if it was for $500,000, it's still an award, so your company name gets popped up there. Well, they kept seeing all this, and this company reached out to us and said, "Are you interested in selling?" And obviously that goes to the 4 owners. It doesn't go to me.
Right.
So I kind of kicked that to the board of directors, and I said, "Hey guys, I'll brief you on this. Let me have a discussion with you," because I met with these guys. I actually went to their facility and talked to them, and I briefed the board of directors. And at this time, they're already looking for an exit strategy anyway because they're getting up there in age, and they
Sure.
don't need it. They don't need any more money. Like they're good. So
Well,
they
yeah, because
sell.
you made everybody a ton of money, Jeremy.
I did. I did. And they have all thanked me for it as well. And so it is good. It's a good relationship on both streets here. But they came out with this number, and I don't mind sharing the number because I'm not sharing the company. But it was $40 million for this company that they wanted to pay for it. And we kind of looked at our numbers and we understood that the last 2 years were crazy spikes. 80 million in revenue, 110 in revenue the following year. So obviously you could get more money, more money, and more money, but they didn't. I don't know why. I don't know the reasons why. Usually, your EBITDA, if you factor all that in our industry, it's about 8 times what your EBITDA is. So they could have got significantly, significantly more money for their company, but they didn't. And they ended up selling. So we're in the process of that. But again, that's 10% for me. So I get 10% of that sale. And that right there, kind of, I say I'm done. I don't know, but after the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed here in the next few months, I'm pretty much done. It's not the 4 million that did it, right? It's everything that was passed. That 4 million was just the cherry on the
Absolutely.
top. It was the 7 years of the grind. It was really that, and uh, the constant the constant motivation for me to put money in the stock market and different investments, max out my 401k, do everything I can to watch my money grow instead of just earning it and putting it away. And I think after all of that, going to end up with high 7 figures, and I good after 30 years of doing this.
So, a couple different things I wanted to ask you about then. So, your TSP, what, 9 years ago was how much again? 130, I think you said somewhere.
No, it wasn't even close to that.
Okay.
That was the 130 was the TSP plus savings plus a brokerage account.
Okay. Okay.
So all of that was 130. I don't even know what it was individually. I just remember the cumulative number.
So here you are 9 years later from then, multimillionaire.
Yeah. By the time February, March comes around, it'll be eight, a little over 8 million.
That's incredible. Now, questions for you. Have you kept in any contact with family in Nebraska or friends or anything like that?
I have one good high school buddy I've kept in contact with, and that's really it. My family as well, but yeah.
The reason why I ask is sometimes when we see this, people think, hey, look at Jeremy. He's an overnight success. And the reality is, like you said, no, this isn't an overnight success. This is 30 years of developing good habits, of working hard and being recognized for that hard work.
Yeah, a personal story. I had a I had a girlfriend well, I have a girlfriend now, but I had an ex-girlfriend for a couple years, and things just weren't working out, and it wasn't the long hours that I was putting in. It wasn't that, although I could see that being a problem for a lot of other people.
It can be, yeah.
It was more of a financial thing. I don't care what people do. I don't care how much money they make. It's a care for me. What do I do and how much money do I make? I really don't
Hmm.
care. My girlfriend she wasn't paid a lot. I mean, little more than minimum wage, but she lived in a small apartment and everything like that. And when we broke up, she said something, and I'll never forget this. We broke up for something silly. I can't remember what the hell it was. But anyways, she said, not all of us can be a COO of a company and have a lot of money like you do.
Mm,
And I didn't say anything back. I'm not that kind of person. Not fighting back. I just ignore or whatever. But that stuck with me because, I think about that from time to time and I call bull crap on all of that
right,
because everybody can have this opportunity. It's just work.
right.
Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. But if you can't sit here and complain that you don't have money or you can't make ends meet, if you're not putting in the work, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. If you're working two jobs and you can't make ends meet, okay, we'll talk, right? You're putting in the work and you're having difficulties. So let's navigate that. Let's navigate that through some financial help and we'll figure something out. Take some night school slowly over time. Get what you need to do, get technical, get an education, and get a job that's going to pay you more. So there's some
Absolutely.
things that can be worked. But to say something like, not everyone's a COO and have money like that, I did not like that comment, and I'll never forget that
Hmm.
because anybody can.
Well, yeah, and I love that. It doesn't sound like you're seeing yourself as special, other than you're the person that's willing to do the work, put the work in, and that's great. And I think that story resonates with a lot of the people that we work with these blue collar millionaires. These are oftentimes they're the truck drivers and plumbers that have worked extraordinarily hard and put money away and just did the right things financially. And one thing that I saw coming from the trades is here you are a multimillionaire and you buy a year old truck. Well, normally when soon as somebody sees a decent paycheck, they go out and they rack up a bunch of debt and those sorts of things,
Yeah, no, that's a bad move. Debt will
So
kill you.
Jeremy, where are you going now? Are you yeah, where are you
Well,
going
no,
now?
good question. But I want to piggyback on what you said about a
Okay.
plumber or an electrician. It comes back to the three things that I said. Like you could be a plumber and you could work your 9 to 5 job and might be able to make ends meet or maybe even a little bit more. But it's that person who's the extrovert. Again, I can't hammer on this enough. It's the extrovert, it's it's the technical quality and a little bit of leadership. If you have all three of those, that plumber is going to do his own business development. He's going to go out and get work because he's an extrovert.
Yeah.
He's going to be an amazing boss and have employees that are going to be loyal to him because he has good leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the technical background to do the work himself and to teach his core employees. And right there, you just built a business. So that one person who holds those three traits can do anything. I don't care if it's a plumber or an electrician. And that's
Absolutely.
what, like I said when we first started, kind of being a teacher, it's those three qualities. I can't harp on this enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not an extrovert, try. Just try hard. Read books, take a class on how to do it. I think back in my day, they called it Toastmasters for like public speaking.
I think so. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that helps. But just try your hardest to be an extrovert. And for those that don't think they can, I do want to remind people I'm actually an introvert. And the way you know this is how does somebody end the day and how does somebody wind down? People that go to a bar at the end of the night, sit with friends, have a drink, those are extroverts.
Sure.
They could be an introvert in their job and sit in a cubicle, but then they go out at night and have a drink with their friends and talk about their day and blah, blah, blah. That's an extrovert. That's not me. I force myself to be an extrovert during the day. And then at night, no, leave me alone. I just want to sit at home and wind down, think, erase my brain, and start over. So I'm actually an introvert, but I force myself in that extrovert position because that's what I see needs done.
Skill. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. So just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't be an extrovert because, again, I'm doing it.
Right. And you learned all the technical skills that you needed to and have obviously shown great leadership ability.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're mediocre at all of it, if you pass all three, you're a unicorn. You really
Right.
are. You really are. Look
Right.
around in any company and find somebody with those three traits. They're going to be a chief of something or a director of something or very, very senior management. Like if you work in a larger company, 2,000 plus people, like even your manager isn't going to have all three of those. It's going to be your boss's boss's boss. They have all three.
Right. Oh, I love that. Well, Jeremy, it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the insights, and I really appreciate your story, and appreciate the hard work that you did, and I just really hope that this story will resonate with some of these other young folks, or I mean, really anybody. You were 39 years old when you,
I was.
yeah, when you switched jobs, but even before that, you were what, 36, 37 when you said, you know what, I'm going to just work really hard for the next few years.
It's a four-letter word, man. It's a
Yeah.
four-letter word, but work. Just do it.
Great job. Great job. So anyways, I think I'm going to leave it at that, but Jeremy, thanks for being on. Really appreciate you, and keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. We hope this episode has been inspiring and beneficial to you. If you want help on your journey to financial freedom, reach out to us at veritasalaska.com. We'd love to sit down over a cup of coffee with you, either here in our office or virtually, and get to know you and your needs. And though this podcast is free of charge, we do ask that you please do us two quick favors. If you enjoyed the episode, give our pod a great rating on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use, and also give us a follow on Instagram. We hope you have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and intentionality. God bless.
The information expressed is for general information only and is not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations for any individual. It is suggested that you consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation. Hypothetical investment results are for illustrative purposes only and should not be deemed a representation of future results.